About is the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command, also known as U.S. Army CID. CID agents investigate felony-level crimes for the U.S. Army. They're stationed both in the United States and overseas. They have a lot of different various military groups that cover the geographic locations throughout the United States. Army CID also has the U.S. Army Crimes Record Center, which basically is a repository for all military police and reporting requirements for all of DoD. They also run the U.S. Army Crime Lab, which is known as Usacidc. It's located in Georgia, and it's the forensic laboratory that all the military criminal investigation organizations send in their evidence to for processing. It's a very outstanding, it's a world-class laboratory. So again, it's there to assist the military agents solve their investigations and have subject matter experts available to testify during trial. There's several types of agents that work for Army CID. They have military agents, enlisted agents, military warrant officer agents, and they also have GS employees. So I want to talk with you about those folks and give you the pros and cons and whether it's going to be worth your while to apply to those organizations in one capacity or the other. So let's take a look. So here is the pros and cons of Army CID agents for military agents and for the civilian side. The entry level for Army CID could be either at the GS side, GS9, when you first join as a civilian, or either at the E5 or E6 level for military grade. Enlisted agent can apply to be a warrant officer, and once they get into the warrant officer field, that really takes them into the management level. So I consider that a pro because, again, you have 3 different opportunities to transition into CID at various capacities, and each of these has their pros and cons, and I'll get into more detail when we get down further. Job locations, we talked about that briefly. I mentioned that it's both most military installations, Army installations, have a CID detachment assigned to them to investigate felony base level crimes. But while working for Army CID on the installations, there's also some specialized agents that focus on various types of crimes, and I'll get to those in a minute. Overseas, Army CID agents are both forward deployed in combat theaters, both in the Middle East, and they also are stationed overseas at various military bases conducting the same type of investigations they would back in the States, base level crime. They also have a protective services mission that's ran out of the Pentagon. And it's a very good mission, very similar to the Secret Service, and they specifically focus on protecting dignitaries who work for DoD. The training opportunities available for Army CID, you have 2 opportunities. One, to graduate from the Army CID training that the military agents go through. It's at the U.S. Army Military Police School, also known as USAMS. The civilian agents, the 1811s, also have the opportunity to graduate from USAMS, but based on availability and vacancies, they can also be sent to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia. So I consider that a pro because they have 2 avenues to get certified as a civilian 1811. The journeyman level for the various ranks cover both military, enlisted, and for warrant officers. Army CID agent warrant officer can go as high as Chief Warrant Officer 5 or Master Warrant Officer. And on the enlisted side, can go as high as E9 as a Command Sergeant Major. On the civilian side, for working agents for journeymen, it's at the GS13 level only. The only management positions that are available for Army CID civilian is the Special Agent in Charge, which is at the GS14 level, and the GS15, which is Director of the Major Procurement Fraud Unit. There's only one guy that's a GS15 in Army CID. So again, the promotion potential past GS13 is very, very limited on the civilian side. Complexity of hire, it's very good. I put it at the short level because it could be as short as 4 months and as much as 6 months depending on the timeline. So that's in the pro category. For civilians, this would only apply to them, which is the standard civilian requirements for hiring an employee. The security requirements for all CID agents is top secret. And the process to become a CID agent does require an interview, both with the special agent in charge, or it could be with a panel of agents. If you do not have any prior military experience, you'll have to do on-the-job training for 6 months, which ties into your average timeline. You'll be working at what's called an intern investigator to get your 6 months experience in law enforcement before you can put your CID packet together to send off to apply to get one of those coveted slots at USAMS. So I put that in the neutral category. CID does not require you to have a polygraph exam to be qualified for the position, and they also don't have a language requirement. So that's also a big plus. It helps expedite the process and alleviate some of the timeline in being selected for the position. So those are potentially a pro, but again, it's not required. Most other agencies, FBI, DEA, they do require a polygraph exam. And again, it just slows down. It's a screening tool. Luckily, Army CID doesn't have that. Take-home car. This is a con because, again, with other 1811 special agent positions, you do get a take-home car. Army CID as an MCIO does not give you a take-home car, so that's a negative. Specialty units. You could be assigned to the FBI JTTF, but that's rare, more the exception than the rule. It's usually assigned to a military agent. MPFU, they're all civilians, so that's a specialty unit in and of itself. You have to have a fraud background in order to get hired as a major procurement fraud unit special agent. They usually pick a lot of civilians that has an auditor background because, again, white-collar crime and fraud, it's very paper intensive. Therefore, they need subject matter experts who have an auditing background, who can decipher and screen through all those particular spreadsheets and documents and contracts to identify where the fraud is being perpetrated. Field Investigative Unit is another specialty unit. Again, they investigate general staff officers and above, and also sensitive investigations, for instance, classified investigations. They would be in charge of that. They have both civilians that are assigned to that unit as well as senior warrant officer agents. Cybercrime agents are both civilian and military as well. The polygraph examiners for Army CID are technically all warrant officers. No enlisted agents or polygraph examiners. The Protective Service Battalion is located in D.C. That's a dignitary protection unit. All military agents, civilian agents potentially could be assigned there, either extended TDY or stationed there permanently to conduct that protective services mission. So that's a pro. So they do have these specialty units that you can branch off on to specialize in. Very rewarding for your career, both in CID as well as when you transition out to other agencies. Veterans preference, of course, Army CID is going to be very veteran friendly. They tend to hire a lot of Army military active duty members into the civilian side, so that's good. They take care of their own that way. So I put that in the pro category. Career reputation. It's good. It's not great and it's not excellent, but it's good. Again, the Army CID is a very militant organization, so chain of command is very important to them. So if you don't have a military mindset, if you don't know the chain of command, you won't do well in Army CID as a civilian. So understanding the military rank structure and the command system. If you're not from the military and you're just going into Army CID as a civilian, it could be a learning curve for you. So I put that as a neutral. Promotion potential for the military side is excellent. You can go all the way up to Chief Warrant Officer 5 or E9. On the military side, it's limited. You can only go automatically to a GS-13. So I put that as a negative because it's not career progression all the way through in the normal 1811 sense for transition and promotion opportunities. Jurisdiction-wise, again, Army CID is specialized in violations that are for DOD or the Army. So they follow violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice as well as the 18 United States Code violations. Retirement-wise, Army CID covers both the primary and secondary retirement systems. So at 57, most agents covered on the primary law enforcement retirement system has to retire. On the secondary side, if you're a retired warrant officer and you're working in a secondary position, you can retire after 20 years. So that's a positive. They have military coverage both on the primary and secondary law enforcement retirement system. Lateral positions. So this is a negative because U.S. Army Military Police School, the CID basic course is not recognized by other 1811 law enforcement agencies, especially the OIG, FBI, and DOJ. You'll have to, if you leave Army CID as a civilian agent and you try to go to an OIG or FBI or DOJ agency, they will not recognize your training, so therefore you would have to go back through their specific academies, for instance, FLETC for the CITP course, or FBI or DEA or the other Quantico academies to get qualified as a special agent with them. This is where we start getting into the negative side constantly. So just be aware of that. For premium pay, special agents for Army CID or the military folks are limited to their rank structure. Only the civilians qualify for premium pay and overtime. So that's a huge negative for the military agents, which is the majority, who are working side by side with their civilians counterpart. Yet the military folks are limited on our military grade salary. The civilians are the ones who are being fully compensated, the equivalent of their 1811 counterparts in other agencies. When they're working protective services operations, both domestic and overseas, 1811s qualify for overtime, weekend, night differential, and holiday pay. The military agents do not. And this is just a comparison to show the difference between the same agents, civilian agents, and the military agents and what their compensation differs. So the military enlisted agents, like I said, they're E5s or E6s. Their base pay is between $2,800 to $3,500 a month, and on average around $1,500 for their housing allowance. So a military CID agent is only making around $60,000 a year doing the same work as a 1811 special agent. Again, after a year, if they do promote to warrant officer, their pay would increase to around $83,000. And this is at the Chief Warrant Officer 3 at a $5,400 a month salary plus a $1,500 BAH added to that would equate to $83,000. So this is a Chief Warrant Officer with 10 years of service equivalent. When you look at the civilian equivalent, after 1 year, brand new 1811 civilian agent is making $80,000. The second year, he's making $95,000. And the third year, he's making $114,000 as a case agent. The Warrant Officer 3 is a senior manager or a SAC an equivalent here, and the case agent is making almost $30,000 more than they are. So that just tells you the disparity between the military and civilian agents. And this is why a lot of warrant officers and enlisted agents that leave Army CID in pursuit of a civilian 1811 position only because of the equality in pay. Same work, but there's not equality in pay, and that's why I left, because I saw the difference between a civilian agent and an enlisted agent. I left as an E6, and I literally doubled my pay when I left, when I received the OIG position. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope this helped. If you liked the video, please subscribe, thumbs up, and see you on the next one.